Hello, everybody. Happy game day. Welcome into Before the Sandstorm here on Gamecock Central. I'm Kendall Smith, joined alongside of Wes Mitchell. And Wes, it is freezing cold outside, but as everybody can tell, we are here from SEC Nation this morning in the Horseshoe, the SEC Network's premier pregame show right here for South Carolina's game against Tennessee tonight at 7 o'clock from Williams-Brice Stadium. The last home game of the season, week 12 of college football action. And we've got people packed behind us, Wes, starting to get ready and get excited for the pregame show here today.
Yeah, pretty good little crowd so far. It is a little chilly, but I have this rule: like you're not supposed to admit to yourself how cold it is. But Kendall, you've done that already. Like,
no,
opened up the
have
show.
Done that already.
Opened up the show with how cold it is. But
I'm
hey,
just
for real,
reporting what's happening.
For real, Kendall is a professional meteorologist here at the school as well. And Kendall, tell him, layer up tonight. Like,
yes.
it's gonna be chilly. Like, for real, layer up.
It's really gonna be cold. You're gonna want to layer up. Be smarter than me. Bring some gloves. Bring some mittens out. Put on the jacket. Put on the sweater underneath it. You will not regret it. Even the hand warmers. Aaron Rodgers actually has a great tip. Learned it from Aaron Andrews, actually. If you take those little hand warmers and you put them in your shoes, one on top of your toes and one on the bottom of your toes, keeps your feet warm the whole time. I think if your feet are cold, you're going to be miserable. So that's where you have to start and then layer up from there.
Added bonus, it makes you taller as well, Kendall.
Yeah,
you get a little boost from
I need that, as you can tell. I'm even looking a little bit short right here because we are at the Bush's Baked Beans tent. They were so generous to let us come over here and set up our show, and we've got our camera propped up on a little staircase, so it's making me look really, really short. But nonetheless, enough about all that. This is awesome, Wes. Having SEC Nation here, yes, the game is huge for South Carolina, but it's just as big from a recruiting standpoint to have these big-time shows here featuring the capital city and the University of South Carolina.
Yeah, you always want your university to be presented out there on a national spotlight. And, I always thought that the Horseshoe was probably the best place to do it. Originally, so I remember the original college game day coming to Columbia. This was back, I think, 2001 Florida game, Kendall, and they had it in the fairgrounds, and it was cool because you're like, all right, game day's here.
It was in 2001?
Yes, literally. That was the first time that college game day came to
I
South
was
Carolina.
South Carolina, 1 year old.
Steve Spurrier was the South Carolina was the Florida head coach at the time. And so Kendall, it was cool, but you just didn't get the beautiful backdrop that you have here on the Horseshoe. So I think this is really cool. Hopefully, it's very early right now. I think as it gets closer and closer, you're going to have more and more people come out here, but probably a lot of people sitting in their cars right now staying warm before they get fired up. Feinbaum was on out here yesterday.
Yep. 4 hours.
Some great views, I felt like, of the stadium. And, hey, so guess what? Our spot where we normally do the show, the Cockaboose with the Market Party Express, they SEC Nation was actually out there filming when Chris and I were leaving. So look out for them. I think they're going to get a little spot on either the show Network or during the game. I'm not sure, but
yes.
Cool stuff.
So lots happening here today at South Carolina. 9 o'clock in the morning, Marty and McGee will be live right behind us here on the Horseshoe. And then from 10 to noon, SEC Nation with Roman Harper, Jordan Rogers, Marty Smith, the whole entire crew, Tim Tebow, they are out here as well. And then later on tonight, 7 o'clock kickoff between South Carolina and Tennessee. That's on ESPN, and the elite broadcasting crew here tonight, Chris Fowler, Kirk Herbstreit, and Holly Rowe patrolling the sidelines. So definitely a lot to look forward to, but this matchup, not an easy one, Wes. And also, I apologize for my voice training. I can hear it. I was at the Canes Avalanche game the other night. I was screaming kind of loud. So that's my little disclaimer.
I feel like you're putting off talking about this actual game.
Yeah, we need to get into the game. So we're going to get into it right now. Tennessee, the number 5 team in the nation, extremely prolific offense led by Hendon Hooker, their quarterback. Jalen Hyatt, one of their receivers from right here in Columbia, South Carolina, from Irmo more specifically. He didn't get an offer from the Gamecocks, so it's a little personal for Tennessee tonight, Wes. And, this team, we know a lot about them already. But for somebody who doesn't know much about Tennessee, what would you tell them?
Well, so yesterday on GC Live, Chris was giving his thoughts on that exact question, and his answer was they run the football well, they stop the run, they don't turn the ball over. And as he was talking, I was like, that's what every single coach I've ever heard has said they want their football team to be. Like if you run the football, if you stop the run, if you don't give the ball up, then you're probably going to be pretty good. Top it off, but they have really good playmakers. They have a quarterback in Hendon Hooker who, quite frankly, should be a Heisman contender if you look at what he has done so far this year. Huge improvements for him, even from last year to this year, but certainly from his time at VT to his time at Tennessee. And they're just really good. Like, we know about South Carolina's struggles. We know the issues they've had the last few weeks. But, even if Carolina was playing great coming into this game, it would take a mammoth effort to beat this team because I think they are legitimate. They're number 5 in the country for a reason. If it's this late in the year, Kendall, and you're number 5, like, you have earned that spot. You have earned that position. It is going to take the best effort of the Beamer era today for South Carolina to have a chance to win this game.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Tennessee has had a great year, only losing one game to the Georgia Bulldogs, who I think could end up being the national champion. But this Tennessee offense, something I think fans need to know about them is how fast they play, Wes. They are lined up, ready to go almost immediately after that previous play is done. The defense is just absolutely gassed. Past defenses who played against Tennessee have talked about it. So that's going to be a huge challenge for South Carolina's defense today. And then on the flip side, you need South Carolina's offense to sustain drives. You need them to stay out there on the field because you can't have this defense that, quite frankly, has several freshmen that are starting on it come out there and be out there for extended periods of time.
Yeah, and we can come up with a blueprint to beat Tennessee standing right here, but I think the scary thing for Carolina fans is that a lot of it is stuff that they have not really been able to consistently do, and against teams that aren't as good as Tennessee. Like I've felt like I've been pretty negative all week long, but it's not really being negative. It's just the reality of what this matchup is, and this is a Carolina offense. When they have been good, and there have been some good moments this year, but when they've been good, it's been more explosive plays. I feel like even the Vanderbilt game, which is probably their best offensive performance, at least against an SEC opponent, and it was a lot of big plays, a lot of explosive plays. So can they show that they can actually stay on the field, give your defense a breather, kind of just keep the clock moving and kind of whittle down the possessions in this game? I think that's a tough task as well. I mean, Tennessee giving up 3.16 yards per carry on the ground defensively. So Carolina, we've seen, has struggled to run the ball without Marshawn Lloyd, and then you play a Tennessee defense that has been really good at stopping the run. Everybody talks about their offense, but their defense has actually been pretty solid this year as well. And opponents are averaging throwing the ball 41 times per game against them. So they're kind of, every team they play, for the most part, except Georgia, is having to chase them and try to keep up. So they're having to throw the ball a ton. We've seen Carolina, when they have to throw the ball too much, Spencer ends up getting hit a lot. Offensive line kind of breaks down. And I'm struggling to find a path, like a blueprint. Almost any game, I feel like you can go, like, well, if this happens, they could pull the upset. I'm struggling to find that blueprint, that path for Carolina to win this game.
And we've seen South Carolina throw a lot of screen passes over the last few weeks, lots to the perimeter. Do you think it's going to take even more than that today? That's probably a silly question because it definitely will for South Carolina, but they're going to have to get creative with their playmakers and their play calls today.
Yeah, it's going to take everything they got, honestly. And, I think I kept using the word manufacture. Like, they're going to have to manufacture some running game. I don't know what that means. Is that more to carry on Joyner? Me personally, looking at how he looked against Florida, he looked healthy. He looked explosive. Looked like he had some room. I may go out there and go heavy to carry on package at some point. I think you have to find some ways to mix things up. And, again, I don't know what that looks like, Kendall. Like, is a tough task. Like, but you have to try, obviously. Maybe Kai Kroger gets to throw 3 or 4 more passes today. I don't really know what the answer is, but here's the thing about ball. Here's the thing about sports. You play them for a reason. It's going to be at Willie B. It's going to be a night game. How many times have we said this year, Kendall? Got to start fast, right? Like, Got
You
to
have to.
keep that crowd in the game.
Especially against Tennessee, because they are a high-scoring offense. If you don't start fast, before you know it, you're going to blink and you're down 35 points and you've got nowhere to go. South Carolina does not need a repeat of what happened last week against Florida. You blinked and they're up 3 scores in the first quarter.
And you made a great comparison on 107.5. Last week felt like Tennessee last year. So Carolina has seen that in this very game. They've seen that happen. They know that can happen. Now, stopping it from happening is obviously something completely different. I think, we've talked all year long. Can you get a big defensive play? Can you get that special teams play? That's more important than ever. Like if they could kind of wave Pearson Fowler's magic wand, I think it would be that you had a kickoff return for touchdown to start this game, just like you did against A&M. I know that's asking a lot, but anything to keep this crowd in it for a little bit longer and just to make Tennessee sort of feel that. If Tennessee comes out, scores on their first couple of possessions, they're going to relax. The crowd won't be as big of a factor. They won't feel that pressure. There is pressure on them these last 2 games because they know if they win out, they have a great shot to make the college football playoff. You want to at least make them feel that pressure. If they're up 3 scores, no pressure on them whatsoever.
Right, and they play Vanderbilt next week. So no disrespect to Vanderbilt, but this is kind of their last test, if you will. Not that I'm saying they're coming into this game super nervous or super scared. They are the favorite by a considerable amount, but this atmosphere, as we all know, at night can be a little bit daunting to come play in. Wes, let's talk key players of the game. I want one for offense and I want one for defense from you for South Carolina.
Okay, South Carolina player, I'm going to say whoever is playing nickelback for South Carolina. That has been DQ Smith. Early in the year, they did play some other guys there. They played Marcellus Dial there. They played Cam Smith there. But a lot of talk, Kendall, has been about Cam Smith versus Jalen Hyatt. If Carolina lines up the way they normally do, if Tennessee lines up the way they normally do, it's actually going to be DQ Smith versus Jalen Hyatt. So that's a local guy as well, a freshman who has really stepped up and played very well for South Carolina this year. But tough test for him, tough task for him. Watch 27 versus Hyatt. And can he step up and have a good game? Be physical, because I think that is an advantage DQ will have. He's a little bit thicker, a little bit bigger guy compared to Jalen. So that'll be a key matchup on that side of the ball. And then on the other side, I mean, let's just go with the low-hanging fruit. The easy answer in every game Carolina plays, it's got to be Spencer Rattler, because he's the guy on that team you still look at. I don't care what's happened at this point. I don't care what's happened this year. The potential to go off is always there. And if there is one weakness, I don't even call it a real weakness. It's more of a comparative weakness compared to the rest of what Tennessee does. If there is one weakness, it's maybe their passing defense. So if there's any chance for Carolina, we got to be talking. You and Colin on After the Sandstorm got to be saying, man, Spencer Rattler just played the best game of his South Carolina career. If that happens, still going to be tough, but that to me would be the key.
One of the best games of his life. Quite honestly, it's going to take a lot. For me on defense, I've got Nick Emanwari. He's a linebacker. He's got to step up. Shane Beamer talked about it earlier in the week. South Carolina needs to tackle. It's inevitable that Tennessee is going to complete passes from Hendon Hooker to Jalen Hyatt or whoever it might be. That connection has just been the connection this year for Tennessee. They're going to complete the pass, but Beamer talked about stopping them as soon as that pass is complete. Don't let them get any additional yardage by missing tackles. The amount of missed tackles South Carolina had last week against Florida, West, it was unacceptable. I was standing there watching the entire time. I could see it right in front of me. That cannot happen this week. Nick Emanwari is going to be a huge component to South Carolina's tackling game today. He's just a freshman. It's a lot of pressure coming in under the lights. Top 5 team, last home game of the year. So he's got to stay in the moment. He's got to step up big for South Carolina. Offensive side of the ball, I try to go different than you usually, but you cannot not
Rattler
pick
all the
Spencer
way, right?
Rattler. You have to pick him. It's hard because I think Spencer Rattler, and I know people are going to disagree with this, but I think Spencer Rattler has gotten some heck where he didn't deserve it this year. I
Agree.
don't think that Spencer Rattler has been terrible by any means. I've been at every game. I've been on the sidelines for a lot of the games watching this up close and personal. Yes, there are times when Spencer Rattler needs to get rid of the ball quicker. I will agree with that. But he is being hounded by the defense, especially when the O-line breaks down. He doesn't have time to complete a pass. He doesn't have time to make a decision. So with that, the offensive line needs to step up today. But Spencer Rattler's really going to have to be quick. He's going to have to get rid of the ball quick. He's going to have to make smart decisions. He's done that pretty well, knock on wood, over the last few weeks. Hasn't really put the ball in too much danger. The interceptions, the fumbles last week, those were not Spencer's fault from my perspective. So going with Spencer on the offensive side of the ball. Let us know down in the comments who you guys think needs to step up on defense and offense. But Wes, let's get into these game predictions. Score.
Well, yeah, score. Oh, man. I think, and by the way, this is the worst score I've ever predicted in a South Carolina game. Y'all know me. Not that
Mr. Positive.
I'm a positive guy
Not as
all the
positive
way.
as me.
I'm always a positive guy. Try to be a positive guy in everything I do in life. But 42-21 Tennessee.
Say it into the mic.
42-21 Tennessee.
He didn't want to say it. He turned around.
That's that may even be generous, I feel like. This could get out of hand. I hope for the Gamecock fans out there that I'm wrong, because I hope
and
that.
for me, because it's my last.
Well, hold on. I'm going to talk about that in a second. I'm aware of that. I'm going to bring that up. But Kendall, I just hope for these fans out there, final home game of the season. I hope they get to see a game where their team competes. You know?
Me too. Yes.
Most of y'all in the chat right now, Peter, you can say you are predicting a win. You don't actually believe that. So my thing here is that I really truly hope for y'all that Carolina competes, because I think that's what the fans are looking for, is for Carolina to compete.
I agree, and they're playing the theme song from Miracle. Maybe it's a sign. Maybe
All
it's
right,
a
Kendall,
sign.
what's your
Miracle
score?
on Ice, great movie. I had 45-13 Tennessee.
Even worse
I'm
than I
really
did.
sorry. It's hard to have to say that, but I have to go with what I'm feeling, what I've seen. I cannot sit here and say, as a college football reporter, that South Carolina is going to win this game. Could they? Sure. That's why you play the game. But as a reporter, as somebody who watches the game, who respects the game, I cannot say that South Carolina will win, and I can't say it's going to be close, because comparing these two teams, there is an obvious, definite better team, and they have proved that all season long.
Well, you may at least get to see a college football playoff team today. So
I've
from a
already seen
reporter
one this
standpoint,
year.
that'll be good for you. Kendall, yes, I was going to bring it up. Shout out to Kendall Smith, our awesome. You're not intern Kendall anymore.
Yeah, I got promoted.
You got promoted. What is your title now? I don't even know.
Host and reporter.
Host and reporter, Kendall Smith. This is her last game as a USC student. So shout out to Kendall. She has been amazing for us. That doesn't mean that you're leaving us right now, but it is a special moment. So enjoy it. She's still going to be vlogging. She's still going to be in the press box. Still going to be doing it after the Sandstorm. You're going to provide some views from the sideline before the game, maybe a little bit, Kendall. But yes, you've been great for us, and we're excited for you today to close out your Carolina career. But then you do have a semester left, so you don't.
I know.
But we need a senior night
picture
thing for you, like a ceremony where they announce you. But by the way, and I think we have a cutoff where we have to stop streaming at some point very soon, Kendall. I wanted to say, speaking of this is your senior night, Kendall. This senior night for about 20 guys. So these kids have been through a lot. A coaching change, COVID. A lot of them all of these, the guys going to be honored tonight, they stuck it out through a lot. I think that's worth mentioning, worth pointing out. Some of them have been at South Carolina for 6 years. And, it is hard playing college football. I know it's a dream for all these guys, but it is hard.
It's a job.
It is a job, definitely. And Kendall, I think just worth acknowledging, if you're a fan of this team, of this university, that they have put a lot on the line. Like, I know it's about wins and losses at some level, but all these dudes have really represented South Carolina extremely well in their career. So if you can get there a little bit early, leave the tailgate about 15 minutes early and be there for the senior festivities, because I think it's important, these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. They've done so much for the program. So a huge congratulations to this senior class this year. I'm right there with you. It's a bittersweet moment for sure, but hopefully it won't be my last time covering the South Carolina Gamecocks at Williams-Brice Stadium, whatever capacity that looks like in the future. Wes, I thank you and everybody at Gamecock Central for making the experience so wonderful. I'm not leaving quite yet, but yes, it is my last game as a student. I feel like I just started, and it's hard to believe.
Flies by, right?
It really does. They say it does. You don't believe it when you're a freshman, but it really does. With that being said, I think we've passed the time that we have here before we have to stop live streaming. This has been Before the Sandstorm. Thank you all so much for watching. Follow us on social media at Gamecock Central. Follow him at Wes Mitchell GC. Follow me at Smith Kendall underscore. Lots of Kendall Smiths in the world. Game tonight at 7 o'clock between Tennessee and South Carolina on ESPN, SEC Nation, Marty McGee starting at 9. That goes to noon right here from the Horseshoe. Thank you all so much for watching. Happy game day. Be safe. He's Wes Mitchell. I'm Kendall Smith. And this has been the last Before the Sandstorm from South Carolina. Y'all are the best.